Hello, my name is Mel. Thank you so much for being here. Today I'm going to do a booktube staple, a mid-year check-in, the mid-year freakout tag. Now my goal is to read 52 books in a year, one book a week. For some people that's a lot, for booktube that's probably not that much, but it's a realistic goal for me as someone who works full-time. I teach ballet one day a week, I take dance lessons myself, and I have a life and friends. So bear that in mind when there are a couple of repeats to these prompts. We have just ticked over into July and I've read 26 books so far, so I'm on track to meet my goal. And for me, as is the goal with all booktube videos, I just want to chat about books. Hopefully somebody sees this and wants to chat with me in the comments. So let's get to the prompts. Okay, the best book you've read so far this year has to be 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I'm reading it for a video that's taken me months to film because I was a little over ambitious with the amount of books that I could read, but anyway, and I am shook at how much I loved this book. I am a certified sook, so I sort of didn't think that Stephen King would be an author for me, considering he's most famous for his horror. But 11/22/63 is sci-fi, which I love, and oh my god, it was incredible. Stephen King's writing, I love, I really connect with. It's the way that he develops characters that you are just so attached to by the end and you're just rooting for in such a deep way. And particularly in this story, I don't know about any of his others, but the way he set the scene in terms of both time and place, it's like, you know, it's set in 50s, 60s, small town America, and you just feel like you're there. The smells, the sounds, he sets the scene just so well. And, you know, Stephen King is known very well for his suspense, and it's just done so brilliantly here. The way that everything just builds and builds and builds, none of which feels cheap. And then we get to the climax and to the end, which is, you know, been one of my favorite endings to a time travel story ever. So yeah, I'm obsessed with this book. I was so shocked at how much I loved it. And yeah, it's gonna be tough for anything to top this book for me because the way it made me feel and the emotional reaction it got out of me is just all I can ever ask a book to do for me. So yeah, love, 5 stars at the best, love it so much. The best sequel I've read so far this year, I'm not a big series gal, at least not this year, but I love the Emily Wilde series and I read the third one, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. Ugh, I just love existing in the world, and for me it is just the perfect mix of coziness, but there's still stakes, and the banter between the two main characters is just amazing. A strong female lead, a simp of a love interest, like, it's everything I want. And the third book, I know not everyone enjoyed it, but it just really rounded it off well for me, and I know I loved it. It was great. New releases I haven't read yet, but want to. Oh, 1 second. I made it through the wait list for Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life. So I know it's boring and every man and their dog loves Emily Henry, but I do, and I'm really excited to read this because this is the most divisive Emily Henry I've seen in terms of reactions. Really keen to see what I think. I did my time, I waited in line at the library, and here it is in my hands. So once I finish this other video that's taking me so long to do, this is first on the list. There's also a few other obvious ones. I am the Hunger Games generation, so I do want to read Sunrise on the Reaping. Interestingly enough, I didn't really care to read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes when it came out. I don't know, I just thought at the time, I thought it felt like a bit of a cash grab, and I didn't hear great things about it, especially from my real life book bestie who didn't really enjoy it, but she enjoyed Sunrise on the Reaping, so I think I will pick it up at some point. Again, I'm in library hold hell for that book, so I don't know when it's gonna arrive. My most anticipated release for the second half of the year, honestly, I don't really keep up too much with what's coming out because I just have so much on my TBR already, and I mainly read from the library. I try not to purchase new books too much. So there's nothing really on my radar for the second half of the year. Sometimes something will come out and I'll hear so many good things about it that I'll add it to my TBR, but right now, I don't really have anything. Biggest disappointment has to be The Book Swap by Tessa Bickers. Ugh. The premise of this was just delicious, and it read like something I would absolutely enjoy, but I think it got a little lost in the sauce. The marketing of it was just not right. It has that very cartoony romance cover. It's very much advertised as a romance. The pitch of it is, you know, these two characters fall in love through the notes they leave in the margins of books. Cute. That's, you know, that sounds great, but it's not really a romance. It's more just contemporary fiction, and it's an exploration of grief, of family drama, of trauma, of, you know, finding what you want to do with your life and what it means to live a life that has meaning. Which, you know, in itself, that could be a great story. I just don't think it was done in a way that had any kind of nuance. And it has that writing style that frustrates me with a lot of romances, where the characterization is just so spelled out to you that it leaves little to the imagination and little nuance. So for example, it might be like, oh, I have abandonment issues, and it's because of when my mother cheated on my father when I was in high school, and then she left and it blew up our family. And it's like, okay, we've seen those scenes and we're seeing how you're acting. You don't need to explicitly say that. And I feel like it's happening in a lot of modern romances that I'm reading. And have a little faith in your reader that they can put two and two together, you know? So yeah, that was definitely a big disappointment for me. It was just one I picked up on a whim from the library. And it just goes to show that it's not worthwhile to hop on the trend of romance if that's not what your story is. Okay, next up we have Biggest Surprise. And I feel like I've gushed about it already, but 11/22/63. Did not think I would love this as much as I did, but I did. I loved it so much. Just to add another one to the list, I also loved this book called Dear Dickhead. We read it for my family book club, and I loved this a lot more than I thought I would, so we'll add that to the list. Okay, favorite new author. Definitely not new on the scene, but new to me. I read Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, and I gave that one 4.25 stars. I know that's a wanky number and review, but stick with me. I really loved her writing. I really loved how she was able to create this feeling of whether it's quiet or claustrophobia or this feeling of anxiety. I loved how her writing could evoke that in me. So whilst this book wasn't my perfect book, I really enjoyed it, and I definitely need to pick up more from her. So I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have read Sea of Tranquility first, but it's fine. I really enjoyed it, so I will definitely pick up more from her. A book that made me cry, I cried in The Kite Runner, and I absolutely bawled my eyes out at the end of, say it with me friends, 11/22/63. I read Kite Runner for the video where I read my mum's book, so I'll put a link to that video if you're interested. I know my mum really loved that one too, so that was nice to connect to her in that way. A book that made me happy, Finlay Donovan is Killing It, was the perfect silly goofy fun time. You know, this very tongue-in-cheek, over-the-top murder mystery that doesn't take itself too seriously and really gets that balance right. I really just had such a good time reading that one, you know, the whole time. So I definitely need to pick up some more cozy, fun, camp murder mysteries. That's something I need to explore a bit more. The most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. So this ties into another question, which is my favorite book to movie adaptation I've seen this year. So my husband and I saw the French adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo. So good. And we immediately went to a store to buy this beautiful edition of The Count of Monte Cristo. So just look at those edges. Look at that. Oh, gorge. So a video that will be coming in the future is my husband and I buddy reading The Count of Monte Cristo. He's an audiobook guy, so he'll probably audiobook it and I will read it physically. So watch out for that one. And finally, a little bit of a TBR, books I want to read before the end of the year. This is a tough one. Where do I begin? I want to read more Stephen King after my gushing over the one that I read. So I'm thinking maybe Misery is one I've seen around a fair bit. I'm hoping I can get my hands on it for Summerween. I would love to participate in that, even though it's the dead of winter and I'm very cold in Australia. Count of Monte Cristo, obviously. I haven't read a lot of fantasy this year, actually, so I really would love to just sink my teeth into a really good fantasy. Maybe like The Will of the Many is one that I've seen so many good things about, so that could be good. I'm almost at the front of the queue for some Abby Jimenez. She is thrown around in conversation with Emily Henry and Ali Hazelwood a lot, so fingers crossed I enjoy her romance as well. I need another reliable romance author. And then in an effort to read what I buy, I really want to try and get to A Sky Full of Elephants and Once There Were Wolves, because the new Charlotte McConaughey people, they be raving. So yeah, I mean, there are about a million more that I want to get to, but they're just some that I need to try and prioritize for the second half of this year. So if any of those books are familiar to you or are on your TBR or you've already read, please let me know. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments. Other than that, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.